It's a trucking, transportation, and lifestyle show like none other.
Man, you call this a life?
Road Gang Radio is back for another half hour of the best transpo show in the known universe.
We come in peace. Well, actually, we're falling to pieces.
Whew, get us out of orbit, Madison with a T.
Whoa, I'm trying. We're live from the Fastport Studios in New Orleans. We've got your hosts, Lindsay Lawler, Jimmy Mack, and in studio, Mr. Ryan Pote, who greeted me with an ancient Roman coin.
As one does. As one does.
Yeah.
Just a typical greeting, y'all.
I just walk around with them.
It's not weird at all, Ryan.
I handed one to the waiter at the restaurant.
Yeah. Whether he wanted it or not. You're like, I got a tip for you. He's like,
I think he spit in my
just...
beer.
I would have too. Hi, Ryan. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning.
You get to be there in person with him. I'm so jelly right now.
I know, but you're Jelly Roll Morton, which makes you really cool. Actually, you're Jelly Roll Lawler. How about that? Jelly Roll
Okay.
Lawler. I like that. I like what you stand for. By the way, this is our second veteran here today. This one is a Navy veteran. Our earlier one, we got a chance to talk to our friend Patrick McManus, who is an Air Force veteran. And yes, the jokes from the callers came fast and furious. Ryan, by the way, has done 12 years in the Navy as a helicopter pilot and mission commander. He was part of a joint interagency special operations task force. He did 3 deployments during Operation Martillo, encountering narcotic smuggling through Central and South America. He then served as a search and rescue pilot for the U.S. Navy Experimental Test Wing and NASA. After getting out of the Navy, he was a federal investigator for 5 years in a prototype aircraft development programs. What have you done with your life? You know what I'm saying?
Badass.
He currently works for the Navy's Unmanned Aerial Systems Test and Evaluation Unit. Before he did that, he lived and worked in Hawaii. Lindsay's probably got questions about that. As a PADI scuba instructor and lab tech researching, algae biofuels for Shell Oil.
As one does.
As one does. By the way, that's some groovy stuff. Ryan's been the director of an oil company, a bartender, and even a live musician. There you go, Lindsay. There's all the connections because, after all, you've been the director of an oil company.
That's what I'm just reaching. Trying to get there.
I understand. He also attended college at the University of Hawaii in Manoa and earned a master's degree in U.S. history and teaching from Ashland University. So I ask you all out there again, what have you done with your life? Except that we do have Navy divers who actually have been behind the wheel of trucks as well, and a couple of Tasmanian railroad operators. So they got some pretty impressive people out there. By the way, he volunteers his time as a judge for the Clive Cussler Adventure Writers Competition, which, by the way, really is giving back. And he lives with his wife and children in one of the bitterest Stephen King-induced places on earth, New England. So it is our pleasure to welcome the author, by the way, of an amazing series of books, the Blood and Treasure series. He joins us this morning here live in studio, at least in the New Orleans section. And by the way, go to Nashville at some point, go to Franklin, because by the time you do, Lindsay will have her new studio. Hey, Lindsay, once again, say good morning to Ryan Pote.
Once again, good morning to Ryan Pote. Let's start here.
Good
Are you
morning.
watching the Patriots game on Sunday?
Oh, gosh.
I know.
No.
It's hard.
I'm going to be completely honest. After Tom Brady left the Patriots, like a lot of Patriots fans, I just kind of gave up. Kind of like Jimmy was saying earlier. Like, I grew up in the Bledsoe era. And then, when Brady came on, we had this amazing run that was just incredible. And it's never going to be the same. So I became a writer, and I don't have any hobbies anymore. So,
Well, listen, write a thriller about Tom Brady going into the Navy, maybe, or something. I don't know, the GOAT. Maybe do that. By the way, Marshall Platter over on a couple people are commenting that they have already bought Blood and Treasure on Audible. So it's already our listeners already know what we're talking about here. But it's got to be bipolar when you go from having Tom Brady as your quarterback to like nothing works.
Jared Mayo.
Yeah.
Like that's the struggle. I'm married to a Patriot. I'm married to a guy from New England, Ryan. So, but I'm also from Dallas.
Sorry.
So yeah, I know it's nothing's good around here. It's just tough. All right. Good morning. We are glad you're here. We're glad you're back. And we're so glad that we know about you. We also know about you through the great Mark Graney, which is really cool.
Yeah, I even came with my publicist, Lauren, and he's like the wrangler of Mark. I wish I knew him better. You guys say like I'm friends. I've met him like twice.
There's no wrangling Granny, by the way. By the way, the true story, and Lindsay, remember this? It's like, so Mark was like not promoting a book. When we moved platforms, Claire reached out, said that I had asked to reach out and said we're moving platforms from one to another, and it would be a really great thing if he could just do the thing. He's like, well, I don't have a book to promote. I'm actually working on a book right now. I'm on vacation with my wife. Okay. And literally talk to us from the balcony of his hotel room because
so great.
that's grainy.
Yeah.
That's grainy. And,
so great.
And when I got a chance to read this book, Lindsay, we both got a chance to talk about it. I'm going, dude, I totally get why Mark loved this. I totally get it. Totally get it. Totally get it. How you enjoy New Orleans?
I love it. I went to flight school in Pensacola, and I was there for about 2 years, and we came out here like every weekend. So like 2010 through 2012, we spent almost every weekend out here, and it was great. But it's changed a lot. Quite a bit since then. But yeah, New Orleans is a great time. I think I haven't been here. I think the last time I stopped in was 2015.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
Welcome back. We'll hang out for about a half an hour after the show, and we'll get a chance to catch up. That way I can send Lindsay pictures of you and I talking, and she can be even angrier and more jealous.
That's rude.
Go on, Lindsay.
Go on. Well, okay. Let's dive in here because we've got to talk to you before, but we only kind of scratched the surface even when we had you. And you are somebody. Actually, I would love to have you. I have a show called We Should Write, which is about the healing power of writing.
Yeah.
I would love for you to come on that and really dive deep because, you've lived so many lives: Navy, NASA, treasure hunter, investigator, novelist, bartender, like the list goes on. So musician. And I'm curious when you look back, if you feel like each one was sort of preparing you to tell stories in a certain way. I mean, obviously it was, but can you see it as like, oh my gosh, I did that, which got me to that, which got me to that, which got me to that? Because they don't necessarily all make sense, but they weave this wildly interesting and Renaissance kind of life that you've led, weave it all together. So do you see how everything was really preparing you for like your next journey as novelist?
Yeah, I never wanted to write, so that was never like on my path. I was never doing anything thinking, oh, this is going to be great when I'm a writer. I was just following the next open door. A door would open, and I would walk through it, and I would just be drawn to it. So like when I went to Hawaii, it was like that. I fell into scuba diving. I tried it out, was not good at it, and I ended up falling into that job, and then from there I fell into the biofuels research job, and then I kind of like fell into the Navy job, and everything's just been kind of following the next path. And yeah, when I look back on all of it, I don't think it prepared me, but it gave me a lot to draw from. Like my well is deep, and now that I've found this passion for writing, I realize that I've got a lot to draw from.
Lindsay, one of the things about that passion for writing that, and by the way, when we talk about We Should Write, one of the things that Lindsay dives into is that everybody doesn't start writing at the same time. Mm-hmm. That people just don't sui generis at like 9. I'm going to be a writer. I'm going to be the next great American novelist. There are maniacs who do that, by the way. Mm-hmm. But what's really cool.
There's people putting out their first novel at 75 years old.
Exactly.
That I love.
I mean, Cormac McCarthy is a great example of really arriving late to the game and then becoming a giant of American letters in regards to like any sort of arrival, like just kind of puttering around. Tom Clancy's, 42-year-old adventure of sending his wife and children off for a vacation and then finishing Hunt for Red October in a month because he was going crazy if he didn't get a chance to finish it. There's all kinds of great examples of this. I was kind of curious. That given what you write about, I think about biofuels, for instance. We were talking about that earlier. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things NACFE is looking at. Do you start looking at stuff that you've learned in your life and thinking about how bad guys can take advantage of it? You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking like with biofuels right now. My brain is going, what villainous stuff could you engage in regards to the biofuel industry?
Yeah. My brain is now constantly doing that, and then I'll think back and be like, oh yeah, that was That's because I think back to that time, and during that time, Chevron, Shell, and all these other companies were all doing this biofuels research, and they were separate labs, and nobody knew the strain of algae. There'd be hundreds of strains, and they would be numbered, but there was another lab that knew what the actual strain was, so you just had the number. So there was a lot of corporate espionage, people trying to figure out what the other person was doing. And so I think about that now, and I'm like, oh yeah, there's material there to draw on, even if you're just massaging it into something else.
Because there's real holy grail stuff there. I mean, if somebody gets a breakthrough on that, man, we are off to the races in regards to renewable energies. It's like, it's crazy stuff.
And there's like our sister lab there too. They would swab like nudibranchs, these little like sea snails, the colorful sea snails, or whatever, and they all have this mucus on top that is antibiotic in nature, but it's all different kinds of compounds. And she swabbed one day and was just petri dishing it, and ended up discovering that it cured MRSA. It was like it killed methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus bacteria, like the flesh-eating kind of MRSA bacteria. And she just found that on a whim,
The fun
like, in
kind.
her lab, and so like people are always finding like cool things like
Yeah,
that.
and somebody finds that, Lindsay, and let me tell you something, man. It's like suddenly it's like, okay, how can I monetize this? Or, and by the way, that's a real villainous moment too. I just discovered this. Maybe I can hide the research and sneak this out of the lab.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of stuff happens
Yep.
all the time.
Yep.
And I bring this up because Lindsay's always coming up with villainous plots that she calls me up about in the middle of the night and says, I have this idea, can we do it? And then I try to figure out ways that we can steal a lot of money. Go on,
You
Lindsay.
always say yes to me, though. Not the way I necessarily want to do it, but you always say yes. Okay, Ryan, the interactive side of this, the creative side of this, not just with this book, but just everything. If you go on your website, from the videos and the trailers and the promo, you can scan a QR code. You've got the Easter egg fun things that are happening. You've built the secret codes and hidden chapters for your readers. There's so
cool.
many cool interactive twists happening here. So, I mean, you're building worlds outside of the page as well. I want to know whose mastermind, whose brainchild is this, and because it's a whole nother tier to what you're doing. It's like a whole 95th job that you have. It's like, no, I'm also a creative genius, evil genius, if you will. So talk about the creative side. We are going to, by the way, be giving away 4 copies of the book on Audible, which is, I say copies, can I call that if it's
Yeah.
Audible? 4 copies on Audible, which is really important, obviously, Ryan, to our listeners who are truck drivers for the most part. So Audible is very important. A couple more have noted over here in the comments section that they have already downloaded it. We are going to give 4 away, so we'll get back to that. But talk about all the interactive side that goes into both your website, the book, and these worlds that you're building.
Sure. So, I write really fast, and the publishing process is inherently slow because there's lots of parts to it. Or it's not slow. It's slower than I was used to before I got published, because I was writing for a long time before. So, I'd turn in the book and I'd wait a couple months. And in that waiting period, it only takes me a couple months to write a whole new book. So I would find that I needed to keep myself busy. And I was also trying to think of ways to make myself kind of relevant and different between the first and second book. Because the problem when you're like a debut author is some people like your book and they have nothing to read for a whole year. And I was like, so what can I do that is really going to resonate with people who really enjoy it, the niche group of people that really like this stuff. And I was thinking about what I liked in the genre and some kind of simple but interactive kind of rabbit hole that people could go into and that I could kind of expand off of over time. So I just started playing with different ideas and figured out what I can do and trying to bring technology into it a little more because it kind of went into the theme of the book. So yeah, I had, some codes and stuff in the book. Every time I get it past the book, it's another chance to kind of set up something for the future. So I started doing that. And so like my website unlocks as you read the book or as you're listening to the book, you'll find out what Ethan Kane's password to his computer is. That's the protagonist of the book. If you've already read it, you'll remember kind of where that is. You can go back and look it up. But it's in there. It's early in the book, and that unlocks a little secret passage on my website. And so for everyone listening, if you go to my website, ryanpote.com, scroll to the bottom, there's a phrase that is prominent theme in the book, Memento Mori. It's circled. You guys got the angle now. It's a secret passage. So you click on that, it'll bring you to a little place where you can input your code and start the rabbit hole, if you will. And there's extra tie-in content that's kind of intended for someone who's already read the book. It's like I call it the lost chapters, but it's 6 chapters that because when you read the book, you're dropped right in on the main characters. They're like in the middle of the story. So I kind of like rewind it a little bit where you're still kind of dropped into it, but I give you a little bit more, to set you up for the book. So
It's so well, and why I think this is so cool, not only for the reader but for you.
So cool.
For you, because what I can equate it to, it takes me a couple months to record an album, and then you put it out, and you're like, Well, now what?
Now
I was
what?
talking to
Yeah.
my neighbor yesterday who just his book just came out, and he's had all these he finished writing the book like you, and then months waiting for it to publish it, and all the administrative type things that have to happen in the background. It doesn't you don't just write a book and then say here world, like there's so much obviously that goes into it that people don't realize. But that moment of the now what, like I love that you created something to keep you on your toes and keep you expanding, because there is that moment when you put so much blood, sweat, and tears into something, even if it only takes a couple months, which that's amazing you write that quickly, and then you put it out in the world and you're like, well, what do I do now? But it's equated to, it's like, what if Picasso just did his famous work and then was like, all right, I'm done. Like, it's a reminder we have to keep on creating. But so I guess, was this one way, it sounds like one way of keeping you on your toes, and then probably leading you, who knows what will come next now that you've unlocked this whole technology side? Do you see it leading to something new again?
Well, I'm
expanding.
Yeah, I mean, as a creative, I'm always looking for something different. If no one's doing it, then like that's the time to kind of do it. From a business standpoint, but also from a creative standpoint, you wanna go where nobody else is. So I'm the kind of person who, if everyone's sitting in one area, I want to go where no one else is sitting, right? So so I'm zagging while everyone else is zigging. But I'm just trying to do some different stuff, and because sometimes different stuff, even if it doesn't strike the mark, it's still interesting to talk about. And what I can do with it. This is all kind of like a beta test. If the series resonates with people and takes off, it's kind of like my foundation on how I can build off of it and make it more interactive and more, see where it can go, and what I can do with it. So yeah, right down to the interactive cover, the augmented reality thing. Down the road, I can make that more interactive with the book as you're reading it. I can, there's lots of different things that you can do, and I think that have been kind of underutilized, that are really simple these days to have done and really fun.
Claire, my wife, is a geocacher.
Okay.
And so when she, where I'm going with
Oh,
this
yeah.
right now. So I've
had these ideas already.
Yeah. So last night, Claire actually did the little Easter egg that is contained on the cover and sent it to me. And then, of course, immediately I'm like, Lindsay, I'm going to send you something. And all I got back was all in caps. So cool!
Love it.
And that kind of stuff.
I want to be your best friend.
Is so important. This is what's even more important. So we said blood, sweat, and tears. How about blood, sweat, tears, and treasure? Because at the end of the day, all this groovy world building that we talk about, there are always people who are obsessed with what I call the accoutrement of content, the bells and the whistles and the icing on the cake, but you still got to make the cake. Yeah. And in order for all this to work, blood and treasure got to work, meaning the basic, simple content of the book from the first chapter to the last has got to be solid. As you begin to go down this rabbit hole, if you in fact find that the series has momentum, do you think it might be kind of a challenge to stay focused on telling the story and not get distracted by I could do all kinds of geocache stuff up in the Northern Virginia area where people can hunt for all the clues of the murder? I mean, do you feel it sometimes?
No.
Good.
And I should say not yet, but I am always focused on the story and the character, because I wrote 2 books with this character in it that never got published beforehand. So I've been with this character in this world for a while, and I'm always thinking about the next book. I'm my brain is 3-4 ideas ahead, right. Really planning out where to take it, because I was a huge fan in this genre before. So I'm always kind of scheming about that. But all these other little things are always, like you said, they're the extras. When it's done and I'm happy with it and it's where it needs to be, then all the extras kind of get, added to kind of, like you said, ice the cake and make it, fun.
Deepen the experience. Allow that great, strong central core to actually become a richer experience.
Because in publishing, the core of the book is done when it goes into copy edit. The copy edit phase is just where you get to kind of smooth it out, but you get copy editing and then proofreading. And in those 2 phases, they're way down the line. The book's already done whole. I'm already working on the next one. So at those moments is when all the little accoutrements, I can be like, oh, well, here, I can just change this. Here, I'm going to put a number in here. You can kind of
preventing idle hands from kind of
exactly. You
in.
can kind of plan that kind of stuff out, and that's where it gets really fun. But no, I don't think too far ahead and make the chicken before the egg. No.
Okay, I want to go ahead and give away one of the Audible books here right now. Is that cool, Ryan?
Oh yeah, they're yours.
Okay, we've got 4 downloads. We'll the first one. I want to give away to the first person that over in the chat, on the YouTube chat, the first person to type in the name of our studio sponsor. Who is the sponsor of our studio in New Orleans? The first person to type that over there in the chat will win a QR code. They will send you the code so you can have a free
Someone's gonna
download
crash.
of this book.
Someone's gonna crash trying to
Pull
type it
over.
in.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Pull over. It will take a minute for someone to answer because they will have to pull over, Ryan. Good point. Okay, while we're waiting on that, Ryan, I would, with all the writing, coupled with the writing and the fantasy and the fiction, but a lot of fiction based in reality as well, with everything you do on the writing side, coupled with everything you've actually led, do you ever get confused and be like, did that happen to me or did that happen to Ethan? Or both? Like, do you, it's the same thing of like, I'm like, did I talk to you on Instagram or on text or on email or on the phone or on Facebook? Like, it all gets like, do you, in like all seriousness, ever get lost in which world is the reality?
No, not at all. Because like
Well,
all
good.
the stuff that I did before was like very impactful in like a, I don't want to say in a negative way, but like, when I left the Navy, there was a lot of not good left over from that. And to be honest, if I didn't get into therapy and writing journals, I probably would have said yes to your question, because when you don't think about it and you just move on, that's when it just kind of like muddles and becomes hazy. It was reliving, writing down the experiences and talking about them that like cemented them in my brain a little bit more, and was part of the process of like moving on from that kind of stuff. So no, I don't. But when I'm like writing a scene, I definitely like go back and I'm like, oh, this thing that happened to me would fit good here, or this thing that happened to someone else like would fit good in this area. So I definitely still draw on it, but no, I'm not. It doesn't become muddled at all. And like while like the main character is definitely influenced by me, he's also like it's definitely become its own thing because it was like a memorial of two other people as well. So it's like 3 people in one. So I tend to not really think about myself when I'm writing the character. I tend to think about those other people, and then so it kind of in my mind it like distances me from the character.
I gotcha. You can disguise some stuff. It's kind of similar, which we can talk about on We Should Write. The same idea. One of my co-writers, I said one day, do you go to therapy? And he goes, no, I write songs.
Yeah, I write.
And I was like, oh yeah, okay, me too. Got it. You can disguise things consciously or not. Either way, just be like, I'm working stuff out through Ethan or through, whatever. Not that you're necessarily doing that. By the way, over in the chat, well, we're going to go ahead and give it 2 because they commented about the same time. Trucker Bosun and Bruce Almighty both said Fastport. Yes, Fastport is the sponsor of our studio. So we're going to give away the first 2 of our 4 giveaways to those 2 are the first 2 to pop in. Fastport is the sponsor of the studio. Ryan Pote is the sponsor of this giveaway. And so we will figure out how to get those to you. Go on.
I also, I'll tell you a really funny story, Lindsay and Ryan. I did a show one time, a one-man show, where I talked about a really hairy experience that happened on a retrofitting out in New Orleans East immediately after a Hurricane Katrina. And there was a guy out there with me, and it was hairy. I mean, it was a bad scene. And I told the story on a stage, and of course I changed a lot of the details. I changed them. I swear to God, he and his wife came and saw the show 3 times. When he tells the actual story of what happened, some of the detail changes that I made for the sake of making sure people were protected have actually gotten folded in. Lindsay, I find that when people hear a story that they were involved in and they hear it told well and you change details to protect the innocent and all that kind of groovy stuff, it's other people that tend to get reality confused because...
Plus, it's not lying if it makes the story better.
Thank you,
just
kid.
saying.
Thank you, kid. Thank you. We go back to John Ford. When confronted with, Print the legend.
The myth or legend, print the legend.
Print the legend. I also wanted to ask you in regards to future planning. So, we can talk about Blood and Treasure. A lot of our friends out there have read it or are aware of it. Some of them have actually posted about having bought it and how much they're enjoying it. But to kind of talk about, you said you're 2-3 novels ahead, okay, in terms of planning, outlines. Do you ever find yourself like 1 or 2 plans ahead, but then the next set of plans becomes a choose your own adventure like Lindsay talks about? Like I can go here. Depending upon how the internals of these 2 go, it sets up these prospective 3 novels of which will not come in this order if in fact the game changes internally in the book. Follow me?
I follow you. And so my vision for this and how I wrote the second one to kind of lay out the trajectory for everybody in what I wanted the series to become is that it was truly standalone. So like and a lot of people say they're standalone, but then you read them and there's a whole bunch of stuff in that you don't understand. They're true standalone. So when you pick it up, you don't need anything. It's a complete holistic package. But I do a lot of planning with the ideas to make sure that there's separation, and I'm not doing the same kinds of things. So it's not a formulaic kind of feel or anything like that. So when I'm planning out ideas, I'm like, oh, that's a good idea, but I can't do that this close. That might have to be saved for another time. So I do kind of shuffle things around, and I'm trying to think about the reader and the experience of the reader going through, the series, and not trying to make it the same book every time. And I actually got that inspiration from Mark Graney, because he's he inspired me a lot when I was first starting to write, and he always challenges himself in the next book to do something different. So I try and embody that when I'm doing my process, and really try and not only do something different and challenge myself, but also make sure that the series is pushing itself and it's not just the stagnant, same thing over and over again.
This feels like really fun winter. I really switch into when winter approaches, fall and winter approach. I switch into my reading mode and my creative mode, looking out a window with a candle under a blanket, reading a book. And this is that kind of thing. Or in the cab of a truck, by the way, looking out the window. Like, this is that exciting, binge-worthy, get off of Netflix and get into a book kind of thing. So you can head on over to RyanPote, POTE.com. We're going to give away 2 more copies of the book, right? If you want to hang around and still chat with us through country and Western music news next,
Yeah.
I would love that, by the way.
Sure.
Lovely. You can give your take on my country and Western music stories, and we'll weave the book in here. We'll give away 2 more copies of the Audible version of Blood and Treasure, a thriller by Ryan Pote. So don't go anywhere. Coming up next is country and Western music news with our guest host, Ryan Pote. Y'all, RyanPote.com.